Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You are listening to Dove Valley Deep Divers with Erick Trickel
and Lance Sanderson.
Ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line. Vaughn Miller did it again.
On Overtime Media.
Mile high hello, everybody in Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I am your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me as per usual is my good friend and colleague. He is Mile High Huddle's senior NFL draft analyst and a full-time article writer and content creator for milehighhuddle.com, the one and only Erick Trickel. Erick, dude, huge, gigantic win against the Chargers this last week. I have to slap the table, pound the table, thump my chest just a little bit because I was the only one on staff that actually picked the Broncos to win that game. So I caught up to everybody in the standings a little bit. I haven't actually looked to see where I'm sitting, but I think 6-5 is where my record's at right now, which is kind of nice that it matches the Broncos record. But dude, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Currently freezing because my office is so cold and, cranked up the heat to try to warm up my office. We'll see what happens with that. I'm super excited. Holiday time, my favorite time of year, getting everything all finished up for that so I can actually, sit back and kind of enjoy the holidays. Our living room is being taken over, man. I'm super excited. I mean, as you said, it was a big win beating the Chargers. A lot of people just kind of wrote them off. And I mean, for me, I thought it was a game that Denver could go out there and win. I just was expecting them to shoot themselves in the foot a lot more than they did. Their inconsistencies week to week, especially on defense. I just wasn't sure what version of this defense we're going to get. Same as this week. I'm not sure if it's going to be the good enough to stop the Chiefs or not. But I'm excited. I'm excited for this Sunday Night Football game. It's a big game, and it's one that could really, very obvious statement here, is going to dictate the Broncos' rest of the season. If they win it, they're right there for the running for the playoffs, controlling their own fate, and that's where you want to be.
Exactly. If they win this game, they'll be at 7-5, tied with the Chiefs for first place in the AFC West, depending on what happens with the Chargers and the Raiders earlier in the day. I mean, there could be like a 3-way tie or even a 4-way tie for the first place in the AFC West. So this is a critical game. It really is, especially because the Broncos have another 3 games against the AFC West at one Chargers, Raiders, Chiefs to end the season. They're going to get a break here this next week. They got the Lions coming up after the Chiefs. Not that we're looking forward to that yet. We've got to focus on this game here. And then they'll get the game against the Bengals, both those games at home, by the way, that they'll be able to, maybe create some breathing room and actually get themselves into the playoff chase. This is quite honestly, and I've been listening to the 104.3 The Fan all day, all week, pretty much. And they're saying that their promo right now is saying that this is the biggest game the Broncos have played since Super Bowl 50. And quite honestly, they're not wrong. I mean, this is the first meaningful game in December the Broncos have played since 2015. This is a huge, huge game, and the Broncos got to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it really is the most meaningful game. I mean, it's nice that we're actually in December, and there's this feeling of, I know there's a lot of doubt if the Broncos can actually make that push to the playoffs, but it's nice seeing this feeling through Broncos country on the podcast and everything, that there's this chance instead of that we're just completely out of it. We actually have a chance at this point. And I mean, going into the Chiefs in December, it's a tough test. 11 straight losses, right, to the Chiefs? There's a lot on the line, and there seems to be, listening and reading some of the press conferences from the players, they're all putting a lot of pride into this game. So hopefully, this inconsistency we've seen, especially from the defense, hopefully we see that kind of level out, because obviously going against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, it's needed that this defense steps up and plays like they did against the Chargers and even the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. And Like, it's crazy because you look at the box score of the Chargers game, and especially even going through the play-by-play, specifically in the third quarter for this Broncos defense, and they gave up a lot of yards, but they took advantage of some opportunities. They created a couple turnovers, scored defensively as well. One of the first times that they've scored defensively this year is huge play by Passer Tan. We'll get to him more here in just a little bit, but they let the Chargers go up and down the field, but they kept them out of the end zone. They kept them out of prime scoring opportunities, and that was part of the formula that they used last year against the Chiefs late in the season, where they damn near stole a win at Arrowhead. So they have the opportunity to go and do that again. This defense is playing some of their best football right now. Like, quite honestly, they had a rough game against the Philadelphia Eagles, but going back to the Dallas Cowboys game, they played really well. They actually didn't play too bad against the Cleveland Browns, to tell the truth. They had one really long drive to open up the game, which was kind of, shot them in the foot and got them, behind the barrel a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, they're playing really good football, and they just got to kind of keep moving forward and hopefully, strengthen up just a little bit, get healthy back down the stretch a little bit. And, this team can definitely make a run.
Listen up, Broncos country. TickPick should be your first choice to buy football tickets because they save fans money by never charging any service fees ever. TickPick is the exclusive ticketing partner for the Huddle Up podcast and the Blue Wire Network.
Denver Broncos football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find Broncos tickets anymore, because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price.
That's right, guys. When we were searching for tickets for the MHH meet and greet for Week 3 at home, Broncos versus Jets, TickPick had us locked down. So visit tickpick.com/huddle today and use the promo code HUDDLE to save $10 on your first order of Broncos tickets.
And speaking of stars, we got some right here from Gary Leeds Palmer. Hey, Broncos fans, newsflash, the Broncos are going to beat the Chiefs. Eric, you're up, dude. What do you think about that?
I hope so. I mean, it'd be nice, as we were talking about before, the matters of business. 11 straight games, it'd be nice to put it, especially seeing how smug some of these Chiefs players have been on Twitter. Granted, they have a right to be. I mean, back-to-back Super Bowls, one win. They have a right to be smug, just like the Broncos did a few years back, and they were all smug on Twitter. But it'd be nice to go in there and just pop them in the mouth and just walk out with the win, end that 11-game losing streak, go and show everybody that's saying, oh, Denver has no chance, the Chiefs are unstoppable in December at home. It'd just be nice to go in there and see it. And they have a clear path to it. It's on the ground. It's running the game. Melvin Gordon's going to be out, so it's going to put a lot more pressure on Javonte Williams. I mean, and Denver, at the funny thing, I was just looking at this, with the bottom 6 teams in terms of rush EPA and defense, Denver is currently 3-1, and they have a chance to go to 4-1 against the Chiefs. Their one loss was to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jets, Giants, Chargers. Those are your 3 victories there. So that's the way to it. I mean, you got to be able to run the ball, control the clock, keep Patrick Mahomes in that offense on the sideline, off the field, and be able to score points. You can't have these drives that falter in the red zone because of penalties. I mean, everybody sees it. Multiple drives getting right into the red zone, faltering, falling off, going backwards, penalties, sacks. Like, you can't do that against the Chiefs. And then when they do get into the end zone and they give the ball back, the defense has to step up. We have to see this defense that we saw against the Chargers and the Cowboys if we are going to get a victory in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things is the Broncos have to really win up front defensively with their front 4 and be able to, like they did against the Chargers, and drop 7 guys back into coverage and just continue to be able to do that. Last week, Draymond Jones had an absolutely fantastic game rushing from in the middle, even getting double teamed at times. They did a really good job with Malik Reed and Jonathan Cooper coming off the edge to create some pressure as well. Deshaun Williams had arguably his best game of the season against the Chargers. Like, it was awesome to be able to see this team finally be able to win up front without having to bring a bunch of blitzes, because that's what the Broncos have had to do over the course of this season, is bring a lot more blitzing. I think it was 88%, and this was per Ryan Edwards, by the way, at Broncos Country tonight at 850 KOA. He said it was 88% of the total pressures that the Broncos had against the Chargers came in a four-man front, a four-man rush scheme without sending any extra pressure. So they have to continue to be able to do that because this is a quarterback, Pat Mahomes, that is very capable of beating you against the blitz. He's going to make you pay. You bring extra rushers and take guys away, you're creating more one-on-one matchups for all the speed that they've got. And they've got, Tyreek Hill, obviously. Travis Kelce does a good job over the middle of the field, but McCole Hardman can take the top off. Byron Pringle can take the top off as well. Demarcus Robinson is no slouch. Like, they've got a lot of speed with their weaponry. And if you don't find a way to bracket cover those guys, you're going to be in trouble. And the way that you do that is by sending extra rushers. So they've got to win with 4.
Yeah, and on that is going back to the offensive side of the ball is they got to win in the trenches there as well.
Yep.
And Chris Jones, he can create so many problems for you. He's back inside. When they were playing him out on edge, he wasn't as impactful. But now that he's back inside, I mean, he can just take over games. It's going to be a huge test for Dalton Reisner, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Quinn Miners to sit there and handle him. And this is a team talking about the EPA, well, the success rate for them. The Chiefs' defense is allowing the second best success rate for two opposing offenses in the running game behind the Chargers. So this would be a good game to have Melvin Gordon. I know that ball security is an issue with him, but being able to keep Javonte Williams kind of fresh. I saw somebody sit there ask about Mike Boone. Well, Mike Boone, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. I mean, this is a team that they really want to try to get 25 plus rushes from their running backs and get it looking at multiple more touches in the passing game from them. Well, we're finally going to see Mike Boone on offense. He's viewed as this home run hitter. Can he actually start hitting these home runs that we all thought that he would be able to bring, that he was hyped up to bring? I mean, it's, for me, outside of after the defense, the running game, that's the most important thing for this Broncos team. And it's not just for this game, it's going forward. We talked about it a little bit last week. Outside of the Bengals, they're facing some pretty mediocre to poor run defenses that they can take advantage of. So hopefully Melvin Gordon's only injured for this game. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Sounds like that is the expectation anyways.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're able to stay healthy up front because they need this running game. They need to limit the passing attempts from Teddy Bridgewater, because not just because of him, because of the issues with pass protection. You don't want to keep him getting hit. You don't want to risk these sacks. And you're not going to win games when you're forcing Teddy Bridgewater to throw it 40 plus times.
No, you're not. Absolutely. And I'm going to get to Chase here in just a second. But I want to plug this really fast. I'm actually working on an article, guys. It should either drop, I'm guessing probably tomorrow morning, based on 11, 12, 13, and 22 personnel, and the way the disparity that the Broncos had against the Chargers, and why I think that should be the way that they go moving forward. Make sure you guys check that out if you get the opportunity. Like I said, I'm going to try to finish it tonight, if not first thing or tomorrow morning. So hopefully on Saturday, you'll be able to see that and take a look at some very interesting numbers. But with that, guys, Chase jumping in here with a $2 super chat. Am I mistaken, or did you prefer Baron Browning at edge? I'll start off. It's not that I necessarily preferred Baron Browning at edge. It's that I thought that was probably his easiest pathway to success in the NFL while they were trying to cross-train him, because that seemed to be the way that everyone kind of looked at Baron Browning. Was a player that, because he was so versatile at Ohio State, they played him off ball. They played him coming off the edge. They used him as a blitzing linebacker. They made him in coverage. So he was such a versatile player that the easiest way for him to translate to the NFL level, and that's quite honestly what he was best at in college, was at edge. However, I did say that he had the tools to develop and turn into a high quality linebacker. Now, Eric, I'm going to let you take this away a little bit, because you had a really fun film piece on Baron Browning just the other day.
I actually preferred Baron Browning at off-ball linebacker. I thought that was going to take a little bit more time. I did share the thought with Lance and Nick Kendall as well, that edge would be a little bit more valuable for him, and that would be the easiest transition for him to the NFL. But I mean, he's exceeded, I think, everybody's expectations with how he's transitioning, dealing with the lower leg fracture, the hairline fracture in his leg in the offseason, limiting his time in training camp, then coming in. I can't remember what injury he was dealing with earlier on in the season, and then he got the concussion. He's really had a limited amount of time to practice and grow as a player, and he's far exceeded my expectations for it. And as I said, I think everybody else's as well. He's growing far more rapidly than I thought he would, and really starting to settle down. He is the key clog in this Broncos defense. Yes. When he isn't out there on the field, we saw this against the Philadelphia Eagles, the defense looks completely different. He's a good communicator. He's able to open up and cover for issues that Kenny Young has in his game. He's able to open up and allow Kenny Young to do what he does best. which is just basically play attack and come downhill against the run, limit him in coverage, be able to pull him off the field in obvious coverage situations. So it's going to be, it's a thing of that. I didn't prefer him at edge. It was just, I felt he can have a quicker transition there. But I mean, as I said, he exceeded even my expectations for his ability to grow as an off-ball linebacker. Ohio State just used him in so many ways, and I hit on it in my scouting profile for him that sometimes that's a double-edged sword. You get to learn all these different positions, but sometimes you don't get to settle down and learn the techniques for one. And Vic Fangio even shared that thoughts too. And it's nice that they've kept him at off-ball linebacker, having him grow there and developing there, despite even with the limited time that he's had.
Right. It was a knee injury that he suffered in rookie minicamp that kind of held him out. He had, I think, an ankle injury there as well in training camp, but then the concussion definitely had a big deal. He also had a back injury. Like, he's been just nicked up for the majority of his rookie season. But these last 3 weeks, man, he's just been absolutely phenomenal. He's earned elite run stuffing and tackling grades per Pro Football Focus over the last 3 weeks. His coverage grades have also improved steadily over the last 3 weeks. The overall grade is weird because they didn't necessarily agree with the statement that he's been improving. It was like a 57.3. I did a radio hit with Broncos Country Tonight on Tuesday. Go to broncoscountrytonight.com and go check that out if you get the opportunity to. But I was specifically talking about how Baron Browning needs to be more of the focus for this defense moving forward, because quite honestly, he is the straw that stirs the drink for the defense. So, like Eric said, when he's not out there, their run stuff percentage drops. Their pass rush win rate actually drops just a little bit as well. So it's kind of a weird deal. Like, he's actually a hell of a lot better than everyone would have thought of him as far as a rookie linebacker goes. Cody jumping in here with the $5 super chat. The referees that are in this game, there's going to be a lot of penalties. So let's hope that Sutton can get some defensive PIs because he's good at getting them. And yes, he is. Eric, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, Carl Sheffers, he's the referee for it. He is a high penalty throwing referee. His staff is. They're on pace for like the second highest in like the last 10 years of penalties thrown this season or something like that. It's some outrageous number. So, I mean, Broncos just need to go out there and play a clean game. They can't give them any reasons to throw the penalty flag. So something that sometimes is out of your control because you never know what they're going to call a penalty for. Like last night, that blindside block. I don't know if you guys in the chat have seen it. Yeah, super ridiculous call. I mean, it was terrible. So you can't give them a reason to, but at the same time, you can go and do what you can to limit it. And with the taunting rules, with flags like that, like, it's just, you don't know. Like, you can be walking out there on the field and get called for it, or you can be walking over back to your sideline and the ref hip check you and you get thrown for hit with taunting. Like, whatever.
Part of the problem that I have with this comment, and it's not anything that you said wrong, Cody. I do appreciate that. You make a very astute observation there. But to counter that just a little bit is Cortland Sutton's averaging like three targets a game over the last 5 games. With Jerry Jeudy back on the field, Cortland Sutton is almost an afterthought. It's kind of crazy. All 3 of those wide receivers, honestly, have been not targeted at all here recently. I think Cortland Sutton has had in the last 5 games, I think he has like 10 catches total. Like, it's actually a very low number, and it's unfortunate because you're absolutely correct. He is such a really good receiver at going up, using his big body to defend at the catch point. Very physical receiver. Tim Patrick's the same way as well. Like, those guys work so well going and getting the deep ball. But that's just not what Teddy Bridgewater's doing right now. He's getting off his first read too fast. He's dumping the ball down to his running backs, to his tight ends. And these wide receivers, these high-paid wide receivers, I don't want to make it like disparaging like that, but I mean, you just spent $70 million for wide receivers over the next 3 years, and you ought to have a first round rookie or a first round pick that you have a high investment in that you're not using in the passing game. So yes, I understand you're getting the defensive pass interference calls, but still, man, they're just not throwing the ball to the wide receivers right now. It's kind of weird.
Well, when you're down to your backup tackle named Cameron Fleming,
that's fair.
Your backup left tackle and Calvin Anderson, then your third string offensive tackle, and you're running the ball as they have been, you're not going to pass the ball as much.
I understand that.
There is a point to what you're saying. And there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen with this receiver core. And then you throw in the tight ends and you throw in the running backs. And against the Chargers, I mean, the receivers, I think they're all targeted 3 times.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not going to complain about that. They were running the ball so well, and the running backs were such a weapon. And then, being down Quinn Bailey, that really changed their play calling.
Yes.
You can see it from the change from when after Calvin Anderson got hurt. There was a drastic change in the game planning or the play calling after that.
Well, and it wasn't
Eagles,
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off here. That actually started. I noticed this when I rewatched the game. The play calling changed after Drew Lock fumbled, and I don't remember if it was after that Calvin Anderson went down. But as soon as Drew Lock fumbled, they went to that 13. Huh?
Wasn't it that play?
It might have been. I can't remember. Regardless, so right at that particular point, they went to that 22 personnel look, where they had Andrew Beck playing at fullback. Technically, it was 13 personnel, but it's actually 22. And they ran the ball 4 straight plays on the 5th play that they ran, and it was 5 straight plays that actually lined up in an offset I formation. 4 straight running plays for 12, 8, and 16 yards, and then the -1 yard run. And then they ran play action pass with a post to Tim Patrick on the backside of that in the red zone on 2nd and 9. That Locke actually missed. But yes, that at that particular point was when you could definitely tell the offensive philosophy completely changed for this team.
And then when you look at the Eagles game, they had Noah Fant had 6 targets, I think it was. Jerry Jeudy had like 9 or 10, and then Tim Patrick had over 5. So they were using their receivers. And I don't want to say that Cortland Sutton's not getting open. He is. It's just the timing of the routes, the certain situations. There's so much more to it. They do need to find a way to get him involved a little bit more often, but they can't force it. We've seen them before try to force things to certain playmakers over the last few years. It doesn't work. You got to go hit the open guy. And that's one thing that, despite all the complaints about Teddy Bridgewater, that's one thing he does fairly well, is he finds the open guy, he hits them, and he goes to try to get them to make the play. That's what's got to happen for it. So there's, as I said, there's some credence to your point here about using these receivers and that they have so much invested for, but there's other factors that are playing a role into how they're using them.
Yeah, absolutely. Cody jumping back in here with another super chat. Could we see some passes to Pookie, so Javonte Williams, in this game though? I need to do is actually some more deep dive information on this one, and I'll get back to you guys. That might be another. Well, that's a part of it. He has a higher drop percentage than Melvin Gordon, but overall, like the designed running back passing game, whether it's screens or Texas routes, flare routes, stuff like that, where it's not just check downs down into the flat. I need to do more deep dive on this, and I'll get back to you guys on that one. But the running back passing game has pretty much been non-existent, which is quite honestly a little bit shocking. I mean, I understand you've got, like Eric, you said, there's a lot of
lack of passing. You're talking about passing game to the running backs?
Yes, in like specific designed passing plays, not just like dump downs and check.
No. There's against the Chargers, those were the designed passes to the running backs that they were kept hitting Gordon and everything. And it's been going pretty consistently for a lot of the season. Okay. A lot of people are sitting there saying these dump offs to the running backs are dump offs. That's not the case. They are by design because they're trying to get them they have this trust in their ability to go make a play. So it's not that they don't have the design for it. We're just not. It's being written off that it's not by design.
Okay, and that's why I've said I need to do some more deep dive on this and actually come with some better information. But it just seems like so you watch the Chargers game specifically. I'm going to cite 2 plays. They were back-to-back plays. It was after Drew Lock threw the interception that went back to the, and then the Chargers drove down and scored a touchdown. They ran back-to-back plays in the red zone, and it looked like double Texas concept, but it was actually more like a circle route and then an angle. But anyways, they ran the same pretty much design to Austin Eckler. The first one, they threw it to him. It hit him right in the hands. He dropped it. The second one, Caden Stearns, it looked like, was late on the rotation to come across over the middle of the field. Baron Browning kind of missed a little bit, was out of position, and they hit Austin Eckler for a touchdown there. That's the kind of design I'm talking about. The stuff over the middle of the field, not the quick flare outs to the flat and stuff like that. So maybe, I guess better way for me to describe that is the conceptual designs that I thought we would be seeing with these these running backs are just not there. And it looks more like dump downs. Am I completely off base in saying that, Eric?
I mean, no, I mean, it would be nice to see them targeted over the middle of the field and everything like that a little bit more, but that's not a super big part of Pat Shurmur's game. His designs for the running backs is often working out of the flats, getting them open in space and letting them make a play. He's not a guy who often wants to use them over the middle. He's not a guy who's going to often have them run those wheel routes. It's just not his style.
Right. Okay. Andrew Baker jumping in here with some stars. If we can put out a solid game plan together without mistakes, we should be able to win. Hashtag Mile High Huddle for life with the big old strong arm. That's right. Yes, sir. Yeah, and we can get more into that here in just a little bit. Obviously, to me, I think they need to go back kind of to the well of what they were doing against the Chargers, and with the piece I'm going to be putting out here about, 12 and 13 and 22 personnel here in the next 24 hours or so. I can definitely see that. Grind the clock, offensively, keep running the ball effectively as much as you can, and specifically attacking the edges. And I think this is what, quite honestly, it sucks that the Broncos aren't going to have Melvin Gordon in this game because they need that. I mean, he's the most consistent running back this team has, but Javonte Williams works so much better working off of the edges. And if they can attack the edges that way, give him some room to cut back and work that way, this could be a big game for Javonte. Eric, what do you think?
I mean, this team just is better running between the tackles than they are running to the outside. I mean, consistently is they just get blown up on the outside. That's where you're more often to see your tight ends miss blocks, your wide receivers get blown up. They're what they are best at doing is running inside gap stuff. And Pat Shurmur, I mean, his baby is the inside zone, and they're throwing a lot of outside zone out there. And there's like a 4-yard difference between the yards per carry and a major difference in success rate when they're rushing zone either inside or outside and running inside gap stuff. This team they're made for gap. They need to stick with it.
Okay, that's a pretty interesting point. Jeremy, Black Knight 232 on YouTube, and I think it's Black Knight 323 on Twitch as well. Jumping in with a super generous super chat. We appreciate you, buddy. Do you guys think that Sean Payton or Mike Tomlin become available in the offseason? And do you think the Broncos go after them? Also, are you worried that if we make the postseason that we're stuck with this coaching staff? Eric, what do you think?
I don't think either of those coaches will become available. I think that if you're looking at a surprise firing, then maybe Kyle Shanahan. But I mean, I never expect surprise firings. I guess that's kind of why they're a surprise. But worried about this coaching staff if they being stuck with them if they make the postseason. Yeah, I mean, I've said it time and time again. The only way that this coaching staff can stick around, I mean, I don't know if it'll be 100% the same, but the only way Vic Fangio can keep his job is to get the team into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe not win a game, but they have to get there. And they can go one and done and get out of there. And I still think he keeps his job. I saw a lot of conversation this week about beating the Chiefs would be a good way for him to keep his job. No, it's playoffs or bust basically for Vic Fangio.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think honestly, I think it's going to take 10 wins to get you into the playoffs in the first place. And that would be a first for this team in a long time, going back to 2015. So to me, the playoff edict has been widely reported. It's been pretty well known now that Fangio and Pat Shurmur and Ed Donatel, this whole coaching staff, has a playoff edict, and that's coming down from George Payton. He came in, he's like, I trust this coaching staff. We'll let you give one more chance. What do you guys need? I'll get you everything that you need, but you guys got to go prove it and put the results on the field. And he did that. And now this coaching staff has the opportunity to literally save their jobs. They've got to start coaching better decision making. Situational play calling has to be better. The players have to just kind of play better as well. Winning one-on-one matchups is a big thing. We finally saw that, especially up front defensively last week against the Chargers, winning some one-on-one matchups. So, they have to make the playoffs. Preferably if they could win a game, I think that would definitely secure them to come back next season. But making the playoffs is the biggest thing. Peter Middleton, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. I wanted to touch on this for the ref question earlier. Totally forgot to mention this. With Carl Schaefer's, he's averaging 15 penalties a game this year. And he has more of them. I'm trying to think of the percentage here off the top of my head. More of them are called on the home team. It's 90 penalties on the home team to 78 on the team away. So just a little fact there.
Appreciate that. So Peter Middleton jumping in here from Cambodia, as he does every single Friday, and we appreciate you every single week for joining us, man. We had really good back and forth last week, by the way, and that was fun. I had a lot of fun to close out the show last week. Will Noah Fant turn up this week, or another tight end become the star?
This is a good game for Noah Fant.
It is.
Like, it's a good matchup for him. Whether he shows up and takes advantage of it, we'll see. I was hoping that what we saw of him in the running game against the Eagles would carry on, but he was terrible as a blocker against the Chargers. We got to see him show up more as a receiver, and I was hoping the bye week would help with that. But again, other circumstances, they're in play with the whole passing game last week. I mean, obviously, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, that played a part into it as well. So hopefully he is. I mean, it's a good game for him, and if he can get going, then it just helps the offense, helps out everyone else, obviously.
So one thing that I want to kind of elaborate on here is usage just a little bit. I still don't think that they're using Noah Fant the right way. A lot of, obviously, short, shallow crossing routes. I want to see some deep overs with Noah Fant a little bit. Let him use that straight line speed a little more than what they're actually doing with him. And see if we can't get that big body moving the way that he did against the Browns his rookie season. Like, everything it seems like, and again, I need to do more dives and stuff like that and actually come with a little bit better information before I say stupid things like this. But like, they're using him on a lot of out routes and stuff on third down, crossing routes, like shallow crossing routes on third down and stuff like that. And to me, that kills me to see him not be able to make a play after the catch, run a guy over, break a tackle, kind of get going a little bit. But it's more usage to me. They've got to figure out a way to better utilize his talents than they currently are. Eric, am I wrong there?
I mean, they're just trying to get him open up in space and able to make a play afterwards, and he's not making a play.
Right.
They could mix it up a little bit more for him and try to help open up other stuff with it. And I do have an issue with that. It's just constantly the same thing with Noah Fant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like banging your head against the wall trying to get it to work. They got to change it up a little bit more. They shouldn't go away from it, especially working them more over the middle, because Noah Fant, he doesn't like contact. Like, contact in this thing. And when you throw him in over the middle and he feels that safety coming, like, it just doesn't turn out very well often. So you kind of want to limit that aspect to his game as well. But they got to figure something out to mix it up and use him differently. But I mean, at the same time, they're just trying to get him open in space and have him make a play, and he's not doing it.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of what I was getting at there. Is just they get him out on the flats, he'll catch the ball and then get chopped down 2 yards short of the sticks, it seems like, every single time. And it just drives me nuts, because you saw him at Iowa and he would actually break those tackles and make those plays and turn them into explosive plays downfield. Like, he has the ability to do that. It's something is just wrong there. I don't know exactly what it is. Cody jumping back in with another super chat. Dude, hey, thanks. We appreciate that. We appreciate all your support, man. You've been a super chat superstar for sure tonight. You got to shut down the pass and make them beat you on the ground. Speaking directly to the Chiefs here. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but the Peter, I'm going to get to you in a sec. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. A big part of the Chiefs offense is it's so random because they do a really good job of creating explosive plays because of their speed. And Patrick Mahomes does a great job of extending plays to allow windows to open up for him to then push the ball down the field. That's the biggest thing. Something that you can do against the Chiefs is let him hit the shallow stuff over the middle of the field. He can throw for 400 yards. We watched it last year against the Chiefs in December in Arrowhead. He threw for like 415 yards or something like that, but he didn't get in the end zone. That was the thing. They let him drive up and down the field, and they let him control the clock as much as they wanted to. But when push come to shove and it came to crunch time, they clamped down in the red area, forced him to kick field goals, and held the Chiefs offense to 22 points. That is something that is replicable. You can actually do that again. So if you have to shut down the pass, make sure it's shutting down the pass vertically down the field, because that is how the Chiefs offense is so explosive.
Sorry. I just got to point out how you said that. It's like, of course, vertical passes down the field are explosive. That's like basically the definition of an explosive play. But
Well, but I'm saying,
I know what you meant. It was just funny how you worded it.
Right. Sorry, I was like pushing the ball deep down the field and vertical explosive plays. But you can keep stuff short in front of you and make tackles and limit the explosive plays that way. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's the thing is like the Chiefs passing game is solid, but if you can take away their passing games, they look much worse than they are. They don't have outside of the explosive plays, they don't have a very consistent passing offense. So you got to, I mean, as you said, got to take that away, got to force them to run because that's not something they do very well. And then you just go from there. I mean, if you can get them into the red zone and you can keep it to field goals, that's a good thing for your defense. I mean, they're going to score a touchdown here and there. You want to limit how many and force them into taking those field goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave Glassman jumping in here saying, make sure you guys don't forget to read your chapters for Broncos Book Club. Yes, absolutely. Join Chad Jensen with that. I can't remember what day. Is that Monday or Tuesday? I can't remember. Anyways, Jelly jumping in.
Okay. I think it's Saturday now.
Okay.
Real quick for the Facebook supporter update for the shows for that. I'm pretty sure Broncos Book Club is on Saturday. Kelvin Corner is Sundays, I believe, at noon still. Not entirely sure on that one. And then the Trickel Zone is on Wednesdays at 1:00 Mountain Time now. On Wednesdays.
You guys change partners more than square dancing. I swear to God.
We change days, and it's just because there's so much stuff that comes up, and we're having issues with it, with the scheduling issues with day jobs and things like that and family. Right. So we're just trying to figure out something that works.
Yeah, and I mean, that makes sense. Everyone's got a day job and stuff like that. It'd be great to be like Eric and be able to do this full time.
Everyone.
Yeah, everyone except for Eric. Smart ass. I'm so jealous of you, by the way. Anyways, Jelly jumping in here. New name to me. You might have been around before, but it's a new name for me. So thank you for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. We appreciate you, buddy. Is Dan Quinn a real option as a head coach replacement? I'm guessing we're talking about replacing Vic Fangio at the end of the season. So Dan Quinn, a real option to replace Vic Fangio as a head coach. And who else do you think is realistic? Also, who are realistic options for offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator? Yes, Dan Quinn is actually a very real option. There's a connection with George Payton back in his time. I believe it was in Miami. They were worked together in Miami. So that is something that George Payton does value, is relationships. He wants to have personal relationships with everybody. So Dan Quinn is a real option. He also this is going to grind Scott's gears to be able to have this conversation without him. I want to have him join in here, but the roster in Atlanta was not good, man. Like the last couple of years that they were there, that roster was just not good. The team seemed to always show up to play. They went to bat for him. They saved his job for a season. They started out 0-5. The players just didn't bring their lunch pails. They didn't come to work. Dan Quinn's not a bad head coach, Eric. So who else do you think is realistic? And then go into some offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator spots.
Before I get into that, I want to say I do have an article up and a video on Dan Quinn and the option for this. And one of the things with Dan Quinn and George Payton, that with their connection, is before Dan Quinn took the Atlanta Falcons job, he was actually looking at, I believe it was the Jets, the Bears, and one other team. I can't remember who it was. He was looking at those jobs that he wanted because they were the three teams that were hiring for a general manager. And he wanted to join up with George Payton. And once George Payton told them all no, Dan Quinn turned his attention to getting Atlanta and wanting that job and going there. So, I mean, it goes beyond Miami. Dan Quinn has wanted to work with George Payton before, and he still does. He is very much a real option. There is some belief that getting Dan Quinn will help entice Russell Wilson to want to come to Denver. Mm-hmm. And other realistic options, there's been a bunch of names thrown out there. I wouldn't be surprised if you look at Leslie Frazier. I wouldn't be surprised if you look at Todd Bowles. I think, and I know, and this is what's going to tick off a lot of Bronco fans, is that they don't seem to be super set on an offensive-minded head coach. They seem to be more on a defensive-minded head coach and getting a bright guy to be the offensive coordinator. And they're looking at their coach who can be somebody, not a micromanager, but somebody who can step back, let the coordinators do their jobs, and just go from there. As for realistic options for OC and DC, I'm not really sure for defensive coordinator. That just really depends on who they hire, of course. I think that if it's a defensive-minded guy, they'll want to bring in somebody of their own. If they're as for offensive coordinator, I think that there's a person in mind that George Payton has, and he's currently with the San Francisco 49ers and Mike McDaniels. I've been trying to figure out how that could work, but it turns out that Mike McDaniels is actually on the last year of his contract, so he would be a free agent coach. So Denver could potentially swoop him away if he doesn't re-up with the San Francisco 49ers. And there's also the possibility, as I hinted, that Kyle Shanahan gets fired, and that opens up a lot there. But Mike McDaniels seems to be the guy, and man, it's about time Mike McDaniels gets his shot. I mean, I think he's the offensive coordinator with the 49ers, but I mean, Kyle Shanahan does so much with that. Mike McDaniels deserves his shot to be the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was the quarterback's coach, and this was before, I believe it was Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator underneath Kyle Shanahan a couple of years ago in San Francisco. I believe that was the year that they went to the Super Bowl, and then he got hired by the Green Bay Packers. Mike McDaniels was the quarterback's coach underneath Matt LaFleur, and now he is the offensive coordinator. And as Eric said, he's a free agent. The other one that would be interesting to watch, especially with Dan Quinn, would be Darrell Bevell, and currently he is the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. So that would be an interesting deal. I'm not sure what his contract looks like. And to make a lateral move, the Jaguars would have to actually allow that, which I'm not sure that they would be willing to do so unless something happened with Urban Meyer, and we all know how that situation's going. But I don't think that they're going to get rid of that. Darrell Bevell and Dan Quinn would be a huge get to me, because those were coaches that were in Seattle with Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson actually has spoken extremely highly of Darrell Bevell and the work that he did with Russell Wilson, getting him to be the elite quarterback that he is right now. Peter Middleton. Also, yes, I do thump my chest for picking the Broncos to beat the Chargers. I saw you comment on that a couple of times. I'm not too modest. I just haven't got a chance to get to that. But
it's the one thing he can beat his chest over.
No. I said Garrett Bowles was going to be an all-pro player, and then I backed it off and said he's a Pro Bowl player. I could thump my chest on that one too.
You backed it off.
I backed it off, but I was right. I was right, damn it, and you know it. Don't you dare take that one away from me. Peter jumping in and said, I would keep Cameron Fleming as a right tackle this week. Would you? No. If Bobby Massey's ready to go, please start Bobby Massey, because Cameron Fleming has been not good.
Well, no. He was good in relief against the Cowboys. He was good against the Chargers. That holding penalty kind of left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. The issue is that you just don't know what version of Cameron Fleming you're going to get. Yep. Bobby Massey hasn't been an outstanding right tackle by any means, and I don't think he's like a super massive upgrade over what Denver had last year either, but he is far more consistent than Cameron Fleming, because Cameron Fleming was god-awful against the Eagles, and this is a game where you don't want that.
Right.
Well, I mean, in any game you don't want that, but you get where I'm going with that.
Yeah, that's an obvious one. Let me run through this really fast. Cody jumping in here. Another one. Who should I be watching for draft, guys? Well, first things first, make sure you tune into the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast, because we've been told by multiple different people that we are the best NFL draft content that you will find, at least on the Huddle Up Network. But also there's some people that are saying across all platforms. Erick Trickel, this guy over here to my left-hand side, is the guy that you really want to pay attention to, and I've learned so much about him. But as far as draft guys to watch for this year, Eric, give me no. So I'm gonna make it specific here. Let's do 10 players over the first 2 rounds that you would be excited that the Broncos drafted.
That I would be excited if the Broncos
the top 10 players that you would be excited about if the Broncos drafted over the first 64 picks.
Should I take out guys that obviously won't be there?
Yes.
Okay, so no Aiden Hutchinson, no Kayvon Thibodeau, most likely no Evan Neal. I mean, Ikem Ekwonu, he is South Carolina.
South Carolina starting left tackle.
Yeah. George Karlaftis, the edge out of Purdue.
Yep.
He's a guy that I figured to go top 10, but there's been a lot of speculation that he will fall a little bit for multiple reasons. And Dane Brugler, he released his mock draft this week, and he was saying that there's some teams that don't even have him as the first round prospect. I mean, I'd be okay with one of the linebackers, Devin Lloyd. I mean, I guess he's absolutely tearing it up for Utah tonight. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to end up my top linebacker. Absolutely big fan of him. Pairing him with Baron Browning.
So, dude, super athlete. Holy God, that kid's freaking fluid.
There's a few corners that I wouldn't mind. I know that Nick is big on Roger McCreary.
Yeah, and then
Auburn kid,
the McCreary from Auburn, and then the Elam kid from Florida too.
Yeah. I'm not as big on Elam out of Florida. Let's see here. I'd be okay with Jordan Davis depending on where they took him. Round one, I wouldn't be super excited about it just because of positional value. But putting him with, if McDelvin Ajim can develop, putting him between Ajim and Jones would be outstanding. I was kind of high on Charlie Cross there for a while. He's an offensive tackle, as Peter Middleton asked about tackles. But his running game scares me a little bit. He's starting to remind me a little bit more of Andre Dillard. Tyler Linderbaum, I mean, I'm against centers in round one, but I wouldn't mind Tyler Linderbaum. No one tell Nick. If you tell Nick, you will be.
I'm going to put it in the group chat right now.
I mean, it's just it's a really good class. I mean, there's a lot of good players in it. I don't think that this year, I'm not sure that any player compared to next year, like next year has a lot more talent at the top. Trying to think of some other guys here. Trevor Penning, he's a tackle out of northern Iowa.
Yeah. You talking
of him. He's a guy that if he goes out there and kills the Senior Bowl, he'd probably be a top 10 pick. I mean, again, there's a lot of guys that I like this year. Derek Stingley, I'm a big fan of. I'd be okay with either of the two Cincinnati corners. I mean, it's a solid draft class.
Juice, love me some Juice. There's another one. It's specifically a linebacker. He wears brown and gold and number 48, Chad Muma. I know that you love you some Chad Muma. Actually, Eric, in our private group chat, Eric actually did say a couple weeks ago that he wants Chad Muma simply because he's better than Logan Wilson. And Logan Wilson was one of my most favorite players because not only is he from the University of Wyoming, he's actually from Wyoming. So that's a big thing to get an actual true Wyoming native into the NFL. There's not very many of those guys, I promise you. Jelly jumping in here with the $2 super chat. The top 3 quarterbacks in the draft. Who's the smartest quarterback in the draft? Ooh, man. Let me start here. So top 3, probably Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, and maybe Malik Willis. I like Ritter probably a little bit more than Willis. He's more refined product as a passer, but that's ouch. Probably Pickett. Honestly, Pickett's probably the most pro-ready quarterback in this draft class right now. He reminds me a lot of Kirk Cousins. Maybe a little bit stronger arm. Accuracy is about the same. Mobility is about the same. Good decision maker. I know that I think it's Jeff Schwartz on Twitter was talking about him the other day as arguably the most valuable player in college football. He's not going to win the Heisman, but as far as a guy that's the most valuable to his team would be Kenny Pickett this year. Matt Corral, I like. There's a lot of tools there, but he's raw, super, super raw. There's a lot of work with technical refinement. His footwork is terrible. Ball placement can get sketchy. He doesn't trust his arm very much. And being probably the top quarterback in this class, I don't know that I would go in that direction. Eric, what do you think?
I mean, I saw somebody else ask this earlier about the quarterbacks from the 2021 class in it. Mac Jones would be quarterback 1 this year for me.
Yes.
Yes. I'm not a big fan of this class. There's guys that I'd be willing to take at certain points on it just for the risk of it. Just lottery tickets for the most important position, try to cash in. But I mean, it's just oof for me. I got to point this out because Carson comes in here saying there's only like 9 people in Wyoming. That's what I've been saying, man.
It's 10, okay? Get it right, and I'm the 10th.
And Peter Middleton comes in before that asking any Alaskans in the NFL. There's actually an Alaskan on the Broncos coaching staff. Probably one of the most famous Alaskans to play in the NFL was on the Broncos. He was a Super Bowl winning guy. Yep. Does a lot of radio down there. Some dude, Mark Schlereth or something like that. Chris Cooper is another one. Yep. There was a guy my brother went to school with that played for the Atlanta Falcons. Actually, he was a draft pick by the Atlanta Falcons years ago, and it's always funny because when I used to work security at the courthouse, his dad always came in, and his dad always tried to flaunt this knowledge that or this thing that we didn't know what he was talking about. Now, my boss at the time, he played for Oregon. He's really close to a bunch of NFL players, but he always would come in and talk about how his son was the highest paid defensive player in the NFL for so many years. And I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but we both know that wasn't the case. And it was just always fun listening to him talk about it. But yeah, I mean, there's been a few others. Darren College, he was out of North Pole.
Yep.
Like he played for the Packers for a while.
Yep.
Then
he was
Arizona.
He was a right tackle for the Arizona Cardinals for like 4 or 5 years. Obviously, Mark Sanderson is a big one. As far as Wyoming goes, Jay Havlicek is probably the most famous. He was a tight end for the Dallas Cowboys in the 70s and 80s. And then there's some new guys. Actually, one of them I played football against in high school. He's from Buffalo. Chris Krasinski. He was a safety for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and most recently with the Chicago Bears. Obviously, Logan Wilson, who's starting for the Cincinnati Bengals. And there's another one. And Eric, I've dropped his name to you a couple of times in our group chat. He's actually currently the starting right guard, I believe, for the Wyoming Cowboys right now. And Logan Harris, this is the big kid. He's 6'3", 315, decent length, moves pretty well. He's been an honorable mention all AFC or Mountain West Conference, all West honorable mention for the Mountain West Conference. And then he was an academic All-American as well. So he's got some smarts. He's got some football ability. It's a guy that would be probably a later round draft pick. Eric, have you got a chance to check him out? I've been meaning to ask you this for a while. No? Okay. I think you're going to like him. He like I said, he moves really well for a guy his size, and he's got some pretty decent strength. Holds up at the point of attack really well. He has some versatility too. He played left guard and I think center at sometimes as well. So yeah, get the opportunity to check him out. That'd be pretty cool to have a conversation with him. And Jay Novacek, born in South. Oh, he was born in South Dakota. Okay, sorry about that. I thought he was actually from Wyoming. That's my fault.
And then Malcolm from Homer comes in and says Larry Zonka has a lodge in Alaska. Yeah, and I mean Malcolm may actually know what I'm talking about, but Skyview High School, Jason Elam's son actually kicked there for a while and played soccer for them. And one of my high school coaches was actually the coach of the soccer team, and Jason Elam would always come down and teach them different things about kicking and stuff like that and help with the football team too. So that's a cool little fact about Jason Elam.
Yeah. All right. So we got just a few minutes left. We haven't even got to our topic.
We never even spoke about our topic.
Let's do it. Let's run it down really fast. Guys, we originally came into the show wanting to talk about going down the stretch. You know, we're obviously getting into award seasons. Obviously, Pro Bowl voting's coming up, All Pro potentially, offensive, defensive rookie of the year, defensive player of the year, stuff like that. What Broncos could potentially be on those lists? And I want to start specifically with one number 9 overall draft pick, the rookie cornerback out of Alabama, Pat Surtain. Now, guys, this kid has been playing phenomenal football, plain and simple. Eric and I have both decided multiple times to eat crow on Twitter about, wanting to take Justin Fields over Pat Surtain because of the value of the quarterback position over cornerbacks.
No, it wasn't just taking a quarterback over it. It was taking the trade that was offered to move back, which would have got them a first-round pick this year that would be in the top 8.
Yep. And then
still getting a corner later, but
yes, and that was also a big thing. But it was also taking, and Eric and I were in lockstep on this one. We didn't see Pat Surtain as necessarily a true fit for this Vic Fangio defense because he is more press man, kind of physical cornerback. Doesn't have change of direction skills that you need, not the requisite skills that you need to play in an off cover 4 match quarters kind of a defense. And it's honestly been a lot of the former for this Vic Fangio defense. They've been playing a lot more man covers than they have historically in Vic Fangio's defenses. So the scheme change that we didn't necessarily foresee with Pat Surtain coming in has also actually helped him out. This guy has the number 4 EPA allowed of any defensive back in the NFL. Now that means expected points added on a per play basis. And I think this was actually for a total game. But as far as expected points added, Pat Surtain has negative 21.7 expected points added of any. So that's the number 4 lowest total of any defensive back in the NFL. That's an all-pro level number. Eric, elaborate just a little bit on just how good Pat Surtain has been this season. And do you think that he could potentially be a rookie all-pro cornerback?
All-pro, no. I just don't think that I mean, one thing with all pros is that the teams always look at well, not always, but they like to look at the success of the team a little bit, and I think that'll hurt him some. There's some name recognition there. It's the same reason why I don't think he'll get the Pro Bowl, even though I think that he up to now he's deserved it. And he could definitely make a case for it, and I think that he's right there in the running with not far behind Micah Parsons as defensive rookie of the year, with Micah Parsons being so far ahead because of his play as an edge, not an off-ball linebacker. And I mean, it's going to be tough for Patrick Surtain to overcome that, because I mean, for corners, you got to be targeted really to have such an impact. Well, Micah Parsons as an edge, like, it's just much easier for him to make an impact, make these splash plays. The one rookie that I'm really curious about is Javonte Williams. He's currently, I believe, the 4th right now with the odds for offensive rookie of the year, behind Najee Harris, Jamar Chase, and Mac Jones, in that order. Mac Jones being the favorite at the moment. This is a good chance with Melvin Gordon most likely out. I believe he's doubtful at the moment, which obviously means doubtful he'll play. I think that it's a good chance for Melvin Gordon or Javonte Williams to make a case for the majority of the carries going on. And if he continues at the rate he is, I mean, he's got the highest of all rookie running backs that have over 100 rushing attempts. He's got the highest yard per YPA. He's got by far the most missed tackles. He's only 2 running backs have more yards than him, Elijah Mitchell and Najee Harris, both of whom are in the top 5 for offensive rookie of the year. So he can make a case for it, but it's going to be tough for him because eventually Melvin Gordon will come back, and that'll cut into his carries. And seems somebody said it in there that if Javonte Williams got the majority of the carries, he'd be probably in the running or be the favorite for it. And I don't disagree with that.
I don't disagree with that either, and I was actually about to elaborate on that. Thank you, Andrew Lampe, for jumping in here with some stars. Happy Friday, all, and happy Friday to you, Andrew, and thank you for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Back to that really fast. I don't disagree with you. If Javonte Williams Najee Harris is a starter. That's the guy in Pittsburgh. He has been the guy all season, and if you go back to what they were doing, weeks 1 through 5, that running game was terrible. It only took off against the Broncos, quite honestly. It was, I believe, week 5, excuse me, the week 5 game. The Broncos went to Pittsburgh and got ran all over, and the Pittsburgh Steelers were actually 32nd in the NFL in rushing at that particular point. They were only averaging like 52 yards a game on the ground. It's terrible. So to me, having Najee Harris as a guy that was like the worst running back worst running game in the NFL, not worst running back, but the worst running game in the NFL, how he's in the offensive rookie of the year behind ahead of Javonte Williams is beyond me. But guys, Jamar Chase is to me, I guess with Mac Jones playing as well as he has the last couple of games, but still, Jamar Chase, the consistency that he has had this season, at one point, I know he was leading the NFL in targets and receptions over 20 yards this season. He's the best deep threat in the NFL as of right now, as a rookie, probably the most consistent rookie we've seen from start to now, and potentially throughout the rest of the season. To me, I mean, I know you've got the quarterback boost with Mac Jones, but man, Jamar Chase has to be the guy, and Javonte has a long road to sow. He's got a long ways to get there before he can actually insert himself into that conversation even more than he already is. But man, Jamar Chase, goodness gracious. Now, as far as other players that could potentially be up for some awards here, and Pat Surtain definitely, with your argument for Micah Parsons was 100% spot on. People see the statistics, they see the sack numbers, they see the pressure numbers, they see him flying around being used in multitude of different areas. Pat Surtain is still not getting the hype that he deserves, and I think a lot of that obviously becomes from the fact that Micah Parsons is playing in Dallas, and obviously the Dallas Cowboys have a huge following, and they're the media darlings of the NFL. The Broncos haven't been relevant in the last 5 years, and they've got a cornerback who's having arguably one of the top rookie seasons we've ever seen. And I could actually have some statistics to back that up behind this. Jalen Ramsey in his rookie season in 16 games, I don't remember the tackle numbers, but Pat Surtain is like 10 away from those tackle numbers in 11 games. He has one less interception, one more touchdown, and a forced fumble more than Jalen Ramsey did in his rookie season. He's like I think 8 pass breakups away from that number right now. And everyone knows who Jalen Ramsey is, and everyone says he had arguably the greatest cornerback season in NFL history. Surtain deserves to be in the conversation. And if he can come away with another couple of interceptions, get closer to maybe 7, if he can get like 7 interceptions this season, he can definitely be the defensive rookie of the year. So, yeah, and Scott actually makes a really good point. Pro Football Focus hates Pat Surtain, which is really weird. They have him 63rd in the NFL out of 118. And like I said earlier, he has the 4th lowest EPA allowed in the NFL per any defensive back. That's not cornerbacks. It's all defensive backs, safeties included. So yeah, it's wild. Other defensive players that, just Bronco players in general that could be in line for some awards. Justin Simmons definitely deserves to be in the conversation. Eric, what do you think of Justin Simmons?
I mean, what award are you talking about?
Just Pro Bowl.
No. I mean, for name recognition will be what gets him there. Name recognition and fan voting. His play this year, it's been so inconsistent that he just doesn't deserve it. The only Bronco who really deserves it is Draymond Jones.
Yeah,
he's been absolutely killing it despite the stats, and the stats are the lack of sacks and everything is why he won't actually make it. Because the fan voting, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, fan voting is the worst thing for the Pro Bowl.
Yes, it is, especially with the way that Twitter has actually gotten into the fold. And Steve jumping in here with some stars, nothing to say, just showing some love, and we appreciate you, Steve. This is a tweet that I stole from Nick Kendall. He actually sent it to me just a little bit ago, speaking specifically to Draymond Jones. And this is according to Pro Football Focus, amongst all interior defensive linemen with at least a minimum of 200 pass rush snaps this year, Draymond Jones is 10th in pressures at 32, 9th in pressure rate per pass rush snap at 10.32%. And the guys that he is behind in pressure rate per pass rush snap, minimum 200 pass rush snaps, are in order: Jonathan Allen, J.J. Watt, Kenny Clark, Cameron Hayward, Aaron Donald, Javon Hargrave, Christian Barmore, who is a rookie, by the way, and Jeffrey Simmons. So we're talking about a guy that is number 8 in the NFL in pressure rate per pass rush snap, minimum 200 snaps per pass rush. And we're talking about a guy that's been doing this without having Von Miller to take some stuff away from him and his ineffectiveness. Bradley Chubb's been non-existent this season due to injuries. You've got Jonathan Cooper, who's kind of figuring it out. So offensive lines have really been focusing on Draymond Jones, who's been eating a lot of double teams and still being able to win reps, man. His play has been absolutely phenomenal this year.
Yeah, and honestly, there's just not many other players that are deserving of it. So much inconsistency. I mean, Shelby Harris, Mike Purcell, they've both missed time. They've both been rough to watch at times. Obviously, no linebacker. The corners, I mean, Patrick Surtain, but it's just a situation of I don't think he's been good enough to make the Pro Bowl, but I mean, not too far out of it. And then the other factors I named, and then offensively, like just write them all off.
I saw somebody trying to pump a whole bunch of Twitter votes for Cortland Sutton, and I'm just like, don't get me wrong, I love Court. I think he has a potential to be a top 10 wide receiver in this league. If you could get him some good quarterback play, he would be. But it's just not that effective this year, and a lot of that goes into the ineffectiveness of Teddy Bridgewater to maintain, consistency and throwing the ball to the boundary. This has been a problem even before the Jerry Jeudy injury, where he was sidelined for 6 weeks. Cortland Sutton has just been kind of there in this offense. It's not been a primary focus. Tim Patrick as well. I guess you could make an argument for Jerry Jeudy based on, but I mean, that's advanced analytics stuff that we would be looking at, like for us here on Dove Valley Deep Divers, and with the piece that Carl Dummler just put out in his 3 reasons why this Broncos offense is starting to turn it around. With Jerry Jeudy in the fold over this last 4 weeks, the Broncos offense is averaging 2.65 yards per drive. It's 4th in the NFL. So Jerry Jeudy brings us an added value, but he missed 6 weeks with an ankle injury. So offensively, there's no one on this team that is necessarily deserving of it. It'd be interesting to see. I know it'll never happen, but Quinn Miners get some recognition. I don't know exactly what recognition he would get, but he's played pretty well for a rookie. So you wouldn't throw him in the rookie of the year conversation because you can't even get Rashawn Slater into that. But he deserves recognition for what he's been able to do. But again, that's all coming from the Dove Valley Deep Divers, the Mile High Huddle, the Huddle Up Podcast Network. So yeah, it's hard, and it sucks. Again, it sucks to watch this Broncos offense just struggle to create separation in any way, put up points consistently, sustain drives consistently, and get some Pro Bowl accolades. It's rough. But with that, guys, I'm going to run through the chat stream one more time, make sure we've got all of our questions answered. What would it take for Judy to get some consideration for the Pro Bowl? 10 catches every single game for the next 6 games. Like it would have to do that. 10 catches and probably 6
Nothing.
touchdowns.
He missed too much time.
That's the biggest thing. Let's see here. The Pro Bowl has been a joke for a while, coming from Zeb. That's absolutely the truth.
And what Scott said was right. It was spot on. Don't need to play it. Announce the teams. Let them get their bonuses. Like nobody watches the game anyways.
Yeah,
they just consistently try to fix the Pro Bowl, and they just continuously make it worse. Players don't care. Fans don't care. Like bring back skill challenges. Do that instead.
Yes, I was just about to say that. It would be great to do like a 40-yard dash competition. Send them to the combine again. Let's send them to the combine again.
No, do you remember back in like the early 2000s, they used to do like the veteran game where they had like Joe Montana and like Troy Aikman leading 2 teams in a game of flag football.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They had the bench press, Lorenzo Neal, like consistently putting up stuff like that. Like bring back that kind of stuff. I know they've started to the last couple of years or something like that. But bring back that. I would watch that. That to me is far more entertaining than the game that the players don't care about because obviously they don't want to get hurt.
Right. That I remember watching those. I remember watching all the skills competitions. They had Tom Brady there early a long time ago throwing into hoops and moving targets and stuff like that. They had like tug of war contests and like it was always a bunch of fun. To me, it would be a lot more fun to send them back through the combine drills. Let's do some 3-cone testing. Yeah. Let's do 40-yard dash times. I think that would be fun. Bench press. Let's see how
you're the only one.
Well, sorry that I love the combine, and it's one of my my most favorite things to watch every single year is the combine. Okay, that's my fault. Damn. I swear, I thought I had common ground with you on that one. Damn it. Anyway,
I like combine, and it has its purpose. But I mean, putting these guys back through it as part of a celebration that they were viewed as one of the best at their position, nah. Like,
but
let them at least do something to compete a little bit and.
Yeah, incentivize it. So whoever runs the fastest 40-yard dash time of all of the offensive linemen, like offensive linemen 40-yard dash times, I'm here for that. Okay, I am.
Let's see the offensive linemen play a game of Red Rover. There we go. That's what I want to see.
Duck, Goose with all the wide receivers.
That would be fun.
That was fun. That would be a fun one. All righty, guys. With that, the show's getting off the rails. We're over time anyways. We're gonna get out of here. Thank you all for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Y'all can find us on Twitter by finding me at Sanderson MHH, for Erick at Erick Trickel, also for Scott Kennedy, the man running behind the glass, running the 1s and 2s at Scout Kennedy. Also, folks, while you're at it, make sure you guys are following at DVDD_pod. Set your notifications because that's what you're going to find out what we're talking about every single Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Also, again, guys, follow at Mile High Huddle because that's the mother account. That's where you're going to get breaking news and analysis, opinion articles, film breakdowns, anything regarding your Denver Broncos. That's where you're going to get it at Mile High Huddle. Folks, also, if you're on Facebook, make sure you guys go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. I got the wrong one. Mile High Huddle. Click that blue Become a Supporter button. It's $5 a month. You guys get in on some premium content like the Trickle Zone. You'll get Kellerman's Corner. You'll get Broncos Book Club with Chad Jensen every single week. It's a great way to support the show. You guys can donate some stars if you'd like to as well. Amazing support comes from our Facebook followers. We really do appreciate every single one of you guys there. Let me see if I can find it here. TheHuddleUpPod.com. That's right. Head yourself on over to the merch tent. Make sure you guys get yourself a hat. There's t-shirts, there's face masks, coffee cups, hoodies, a onesie for your baby, something for the guys, something for the gals, anything to suit your fancy. That's where you're going to get it at HuddleUpPod.com. And folks,
I hear everybody's family member, they want Dove Valley Deep Diver shirts for the holidays.
Yes. There's two of those on there, by the way. There's two different Dove Valley Deep Diver shirts. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing mine tonight. It's in the wash. But yes, get yourself some Dove Valley Deep Divers merch, especially these hats. These hats are really nice. I've had this one for a little over a year now, and it's still in pretty decent shape. The shirts are high quality as well. I love my hoodie. I have a Mile High Huddle hoodie. The hashtag State of Being hoodie is the one that I have. My wife has one as well. We rock the merchandise every single day. But anyways, that's where you guys are going to get it, HuddleUpPod.com. And guys, if rocking merch, donating stuff like that, you just love the content, you don't not financially able to do so, that's fine. We totally understand. Not many people are in a spot to be able to do something like that. But what you should all be doing, every single one of you guys that watches the Dove Valley Deep Divers or anybody on the Huddle Up podcast, make sure you guys are subscribed everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, does not matter. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle. Like every video you guys see across all platforms on social media. And if you love it, if you love what we're doing here, you agree with us, we're like-minded, get it in front of as many Broncos fans as humanly possible by sharing it. Send it to your friends, your family, anybody you know that's a Broncos fan. Share it to them and get their eyes in front of us as well, because that is the easiest way and the most organic way to help grow our channel, to help grow our website, and to do what we do best, which is cover your Denver Broncos. Now, with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. But before we do, Eric, any last words?
Yes, I have an idea for a Pro Bowl game. Now, we take Nick Kendall and we put him up on one of those walls, those circular things that spin, and he's kind of like all spread out. And we let the quarterbacks just throw footballs at him, and they get points depending on where they hit him.
50 for the whole shot, if you know what I mean. Oh my goodness, that's good old family fun, right?
We'll pay like Nick $10 for it.
I'm so glad we're not bound by the FCC, because that one probably would have got us suspended there for a little bit. But anyways, guys, before we get out of here, got to make sure I plug this as well. As always, every single Friday, the Mile High Huddle Roundtable hits on milehighhuddle.com. Check that out for our game predictions. I have the Chiefs winning this game. Unfortunately, I don't trust this Broncos offense to be able to replicate what they did against the Chiefs or the Chargers last week, at least at this particular point. Eric, you want to spoil yours as well?
I don't remember mine. I sent it last night. That was a long time ago for me, man.
Well, I mean, you slept and probably had a beer or something like that since then and now. So I definitely get it. Anyways, guys, smash the like button on your way out. Thank you all for joining the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. For Erick Trickel and Scott Kennedy, I am Lance Sanderson. We will see you guys same time, same place next week, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And as always, before we get out of here, got to give the obligatory go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.